Hi, folks. This is Jim Cummings, but you also know me as the Terror Mask from Splatterhouse. What are you looking at, you little weasel? Now shut up and tune into Game On.
You're listening to Game On here on GameNTrain.com. Thank you to all of our listeners on Podbean.com, iTunes, Blueberry, and now on CKXU in Lethbridge, Alberta, and CJ 1065 in Brandon, Manitoba. It's now time for today's main event, our featured interview guest. Today, we wrap up our coverage of Con Bravo with our interview of the angry video game nerd, James Rolfe. One of our Game On contributors, Steve, did an amazing job covering all of the events at Con Bravo this year. But when it came to this interview, I couldn't let the opportunity to speak to the angry video game nerd himself slip by. Check out the interview and see what I mean.
I'm Steve at Con Bravo, and today I'm talking...
I am assuming direct control.
Joining me on Game On today is James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd. James, how are you doing today?
Hi, doing fine.
James, this is your premier trip to Canada on business. How has Con Bravo been treating you?
Oh, it's been great.
That's awesome. And now, you've been making various movies since you were very young. What was it about getting behind the camera that interested you?
I don't know. I think it was just the best way to tell stories. I tried everything. I was trying to draw comics, and I experimented with audio recorders and just did my own stories on audio. I did stories with just pictures with a still camera, just with my friends in the backyard, and then movies was kind of like taking audio and picture and movement and putting it all together. So yeah, I love the process of making movies the most, so that's why I kind of chose that path.
And from there, you just went and built on that with just additional education in the field and just more practice with different movies you were making.
Yeah, definitely.
So with that, what made you decide then, with everything that you're doing, that this was the career path for you?
I don't know. I mean, I think I chose it for real when I was 15, but I was doing it for much longer than that. I gave up temporarily when I was 14, and it just wasn't working. It was too hard to get actors together. That was kind of the big hang-up. All I had available were my next-door neighbors and whoever was within walking distance. So that was the toughest thing, just getting actors together. And finally, when I started, just realizing, okay, I'll work with it, I was 15, and then I just chose to keep trying.
And despite this challenge, you were able to make all sorts of movies over the years, but it was the Angry Video Game Nerd series of videos that just catapulted you into internet stardom. Did the popularity of these videos take you by surprise at all?
Yeah, they did. I wasn't too surprised at first, but then it just kept getting bigger and bigger with each video. And then, then I was overwhelmed. I was okay, I didn't know it would get this big. I just thought it would be a joke that a lot of people would get and would find funny, but I didn't know it would go as far as it did.
And that was largely because of Mike Matei basically saying, you've got to get these things published. You've got to get them on YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, I was putting a lot of stuff on YouTube at the time. I was putting my films up there, and the nerd episodes were kind of one of the last things I was going to put. So he said, we need to make its own channel and everything. And so he did that. And then so there was a lot of encouragement from Mike and close friends, and then I was pleasantly surprised when it got as big as it did.
Now, we've seen you review countless classic games. Are you still a fan of gaming? Have you played much on the newer consoles as well?
No, I don't get much time, but yeah, every now and then, if I need a quick fix, I can go back to a lot of those classic games and play them again whenever I get a few minutes.
Yeah, and let's face it, with your schedule, you're probably working all of the time just on everything that you do through Cinemassacre and everything on the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Yeah, and usually when I do get some free time, I'll try to play something. I tried to play Zelda Skyward Sword recently. I probably got about an hour into it, but then I haven't played it again in months, and it's kind of hard to keep up with, a game that, take a long time to beat. You got to get into a groove, and it's hard when you don't have a real schedule. I watch movies a lot, too. It's usually what I do when I get a little bit of free time. It's just laziness, watching a movie. You just sit there and and just relax.
Well, you've got to get some downtime in there as well. And for you, I'm guessing that means a lot of horror movies.
Yeah, especially around Halloween time. I watch a lot of them.
Very cool. Any favorite movies for you?
Oh, favorite movies in general? Favorite film, it's a mad, 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 mad world. Of course, I love a lot of 80s flicks. I love Ghostbusters and Gremlins, Back to the Future, all that stuff. King Kong for the original from 1933. It's probably like the movie that really made me want to make monster movies.
Now, the reason I ask you your favorite movies, another guest at Con Bravo is the Nostalgia Critic, who, through the Nerd, you had a long-running feud with. I guess, how did that come about?
It was funny because we've seen each other's videos and we thought, I thought he was funny. And then he did that one video about me and it was hilarious. But then he wrote me and said, oh, hey, I hope you weren't offended by it. And I was like, oh, no, of course not. And he's like, do you want to do something like together? He's just kind of pitching the idea. And I was like, maybe, we'll see if I have time. And then things just went from there, and eventually we started doing that and dragging it out. And it was funny. So it was definitely worth taking some time out to do that.
And despite the feud, I mean, all is well between you and Doug Walker. That's just characters. So with that, you've actually got involved with That Guy in the Glasses as well through other projects. I mean, you had the guest appearance in Kick-Assia and with Suburban Nights as well.
Yeah, so whenever he needs a cameo, I'm usually there to help him.
And looking at your own movies, you've been working on the Angry Video Game Nerd movie for a while now. Anything you can tell us about that project?
Yeah, I don't know where to begin, honestly, but it's a big project. I mean, once it comes out, it's probably going to be anticlimactic, but, I'm working really hard on it. Been working on it for years, but we just went through most of the principal photography in the Los Angeles area. There's still a lot left to shoot, but most of the really important stuff's out of the way now, so hopefully we'll get to the editing soon.
Well, it's pretty cool to see just after so much of a run through the Angry Video Game Nerd series, we're going to see this culmination in a movie. So, James, it's been a pleasure talking with you. If people want to find out more information about you or the upcoming movie, where should they go?
Cinemassacre.com. Put cinema and massacre together. You got Cinemassacre.
Very awesome. James, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
That was James Rolfe, the Angry Video Game Nerd. I'm Jeff Johnson. You're listening to Game On.
It's all about the game, and how you play it. All about control, and if you can take it. Do you think that we could play another game? Maybe I could win this time. Time to play the game. Time to play the game. Time to play the game.
You're listening to Game On with Jeff Johnson on GameNTrain.com.